Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and I'm doing a first for this last Fan Fridays this week. This is a very special Fan Fridays at this point because it's made me want to go back, re-record with the knowledge that I gained from this battle, and actually do the video justice. Now, most of the time when I do Fan Fridays, I do it fresh. I want to be surprised by what goes on the video, which is why I make mistakes from time to time. And I really want to be something like that. So we have Klefki coming out, and the only thing that I was told in this comment was that it's a Klefki sweep. So naturally, I'm going to think Calm Mind, Iron Defense, and stuff like this. But this battle captures the beauty and the wonder and just how great Pokemon is as a game. And I have to go back and do it justice. So it's actually a Swagger Klefki, which kind of surprised me at first because I was thinking, alright, sweep is going to be Calm Mind, Iron Defense, and that's just going to be throwing out the Swagger. Now, throwing out Swagger onto the Weavile is kind of like a neutral thing, that normally you don't want to Swagger a physical attacker, but Weavile doesn't really have much to do against the Klefki, and that's just going to be the Spike setup. So Spikes, yeah, this just seems like your generic setup Klefki. You throw out the Swagger, even if they hit you, you survive the hit most likely, you get your Spikes, and then you layer as many Spikes as possible, and then you just kind of use it as a sacrifice lead. Now, I never feel that this is the strength of Klefki, that it can shine in its own right, but just like that, Weavile hits itself 3 times in confusion and goes down. Man, like, the odds of the things that can happen in this game are actually really ridiculous in that kind of regard. So Gengar, now we have Mega Gengar on the field. With that Levitate ability, not going to be affected by the spikes at all, and that's just going to be Mega Gengar. Mega Gengar doesn't really have super effective hits on Klefki either. So Klefki is working out really well against this composition. That's the cool thing about Battle Spot singles Klefki, is that you can just bring it. And if your opponent doesn't pick a ground or a fire type Pokemon, or if you support it really well, they're just not going to be able to do anything to you, so then you just go and win with that Klefki, or at least you get enough damage done with Klefki to where it can really snowball the battle. So if they don't bring a direct counter, pretty much over. So now Gengar, actually the opponent just had some really hilarious luck right there. Hit himself 4 turns in a row in confusion. That's something that's crazy. A 50% chance 4 times in a row, that's Pokemon right there. So that's going to be Swagger, but Swagger misses, so 10% chance to miss. This battle is full of just random occurrences and whatnot. Now here's the cool thing. Citrus Berry going to keep Klefki alive long enough for the Shadow Ball to be a 2-hit KO. So yeah, Shadow Ball. Like, it's a 3-hit KO on Klefki with this setup. So I mean, it just shows that, you know, Klefki has the bulk to do whatever it wants. With that paralysis though, Gengar doesn't have a lot of things in its favor, and Klefki gets the outspeed on the foul play. So it's like a 60-something% chance that it's not going to be able to attack for that turn. And then once you set up the Thunder Wave, you know, you just go for the Swagger or the foul play because you're going to outspeed it. So that's going to be the Greninja coming into the battle in this situation. Going to be hurt by the spikes, that's whatever. But Thunder Wave going to be thrown out onto the Greninja. And now we get to see what happens. So Klefki already has spikes, already has all the setup it needs to win. But that is going to be the paralysis for the battle. Klefki going to throw out the Swagger, so now we're getting all those compounded things on it again, and we're going to see what happens to the Greninja. Greninja is confused, and it will hit itself in confusion. Like, see, that's the beauty about watching this already, but you already know what's going to happen, man. The opponent forfeits, and there is so much to discuss that, you know, I need to make this the last video in Fan Fridays. It's going to be the most viewed. And I'm going to play the battle again. That way you guys don't leave the channel. You know, I need to keep that retention on with YouTube Red being a thing. But I really must talk about the beauty of this battle. Like, it's one of the things that just kind of it's what makes Pokemon so special. That anything can happen no matter what, and that skill is not always a defining factor in the game, and that's just how Pokemon's programmed, and there's nothing you can do to change that. Smogon, they can't remove crits from the game. You cannot ever make this a 100% skilled game, and no one should ever try to because silly stuff like this happens. Now I think the absolute justice comes in that the opponent looks like an absolute hacker. That 99.9% of the time, if you have a full team of shinies, most likely going to be genned or cheated or hacks. PK Hex has actually been revived, so people are cheating now more than ever, and while some people can breed a full legit team of shinies, it's just not a smart thing to do. You're going to be looked at as a hacker. Having 1 or 2, maybe even 3 shiny Pokemon is passable, but when you bring full teams of shinies and you include legendaries, that's the thing right there. So this guy's getting schooled by the RNG, but then at the end, the fact that he quits, the game was pretty much over. Even if Greninja knocked out Klefki, didn't get paralyzed, didn't get Swagger, didn't have anything happen to it like that, Togekiss is going to destroy it. Electros is going to destroy it. The opponent had nothing to come back from. and was pretty out comped to begin with, which is another thing about Pokemon. Klefki shined. The opponent couldn't one-shot Klefki. Klefki got free setup. Even if Klefki didn't get as much RNG as it had, the opponent would have benefited just from the team composition alone, which is another great thing about Pokemon. So much diversity. You can't control it. The opponent can win, or you can win before the battle even begins because you just have a better team. That the opponent can play perfect, have the highest optimal levels of play with the most skill involved, but because they didn't bring the right 6 Pokemon, you could misplay, you can make mistakes, and your team is still going to be better than his team and just cause the win right there. So team building is its own strategy, which is a wonderful thing about the game. And now we're just getting into a break. This isn't even about Fan Fridays anymore, even though great job, Jackson. You have like one of the best RNG battles I've ever seen, which is why it's getting such a praising on this Fan Fridays. But the fact that people get mad at this, the fact that people get mad at game mechanics, where, you know, the odds, it's 50-50. The opponent could win out, the opponent could lose. And that's the cool thing about Swagger. Swagger is meant to benefit in a way that if Weavile got a knockoff after getting that Swagger, might have one-hit KO'd Klefki, if not would have done substantial damage. So if you're in the situation where you only have Swagger, not Flatter or whatever, you know, the opponent's going to run to a physical type and then you have a bad chance of having bad things happen to you. But the RNG dice rolls, you know, you could have a battle absolutely 100% won, but you roll a burn off of a Scald, or you roll a crit, and then you just get absolutely screwed over and you lose the game just from status. It's absolutely unavoidable that there's no way you can control in Pokemon, so you just have to embrace it and not take the game so seriously. The fact that the opponent rage quits off of this, you know, it shows a lot of frustration, but it shows that he's also taking the game too seriously. He's cheating to use his Pokemon, and then he goes and gets all butthurt over the game and rages out of Salt. You can't take Pokemon seriously, that things like this are going to happen. Sure, being a skilled player does give you more consistency, and having great knowledge of the game works, but once you have absolute knowledge of the game, it's up to whatever you want it to be. Your opponent can make a switch you could never have predicted in a million years. It doesn't mean you're a bad player, it just means your opponent did something random that you couldn't predict, and that's just the luck element in the game. So Pokemon, it's a hard thing to really decide on what Pokemon is, but when you see a game like this, I love this stuff. I don't think any less of Jackson, I don't think any less of the game. I embrace it because that's what Pokemon is all about. It's about having fun, and this is one way to have fun. Now, it isn't fun for the opponent, but that's true of anything. If you're playing football, if you're playing baseball, if you're playing football as in soccer, if you're playing League of Legends, if you're playing Call of Duty, whenever you start falling behind, it doesn't matter if it was absolutely fair or not, it's just not going to be fun. So that's the thing about playing game. Even in your losses, you need to be able to have fun. And that's the greatest thing about Pokemon, is that, you know, just take it as, that's a thing. But unless you start putting too much weight onto it, then that's where it starts to become a problem. So if you guys enjoyed this video, more or less a long rant and ramble about how people take Pokemon too seriously by trying to limit it. I mean, Smogon, they can say they're competitive all they want, but you can't be competitive when you put as many restrictions on the game as Smogon does. So and then they made up their own definition. I've talked about this before. They made up their own definition of competitive as in Swagger, as in Sleep, as in Evasion, but that doesn't make them competitive. I can make up whatever definition I want, but it's only as true as many people believe it, or as much as I lie about it. So, that's the thing. Like, you can't change what Pokemon is. Don't try to. Enjoy the game, and hopefully that's the good message taken from this. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you for watching. Oh wait, it's Fan Fridays, and it's the end of Fan Fridays. Have a great week, have a great weekend, have everything go fantastic for you guys. And now, hope you guys have a nice day. Thank you for watching.